Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest on Storm Antony, which has been now named by the Met Office and will be arriving through this evening and dominating most of tomorrow. It really is going to bash some parts of the southwest with widespread winds over 60 miles per hour, perhaps peaking above 70 for coastal areas of southwest England and South Wales, and even inland there is the risk that those wind gusts could get up to 70. So it has slightly upgraded since yesterday, and that's why I think the Met Office has now named the system. Not only are we going to be seeing extremely strong winds in places, we're going to be seeing some very heavy rain as well, quite widely. We only have a warning issued for Northern Ireland at this stage. From what I'm seeing in the latest runs, there could well be a warning issued for parts of England and Wales as well, considering the amount of rainfall that could fall and the persistence of it around the centre of the low as it does wrap eastwards. There could be some another batch of really heavy thundery downpours, and that could cause some issues from that sort of Cardiff to London line. That's looking likely at the moment the most likely track for the centre of the low where those heaviest showers will be. So we'll have a look at the live radar, see what's going on at the moment. So we'll run through the weather warnings which have been updated, and then we'll have a look at the UKV and the Arome run, have a look at the wind gusts and the precipitation over the next few days. And then we'll have a look at the longer range, because not only have we got this storm coming tomorrow, but next week it's likely to turn a lot warmer, perhaps even hotter, as we're now likely to see the 15-degree isotherm move in, and some runs are even hinting at the 20-degree isotherm. So just to put that in perspective, the 15-degree isotherm would give temperatures in the mid to high 20s widely. The 20-degree isotherm would get us widely into the low 30s, locally as high as maybe 35 degrees. So some deviations with those runs at the moment, but looking like it could be hotting up next week after this stormy spell. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure to like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in description. So to start on the live radar, you can see we've got a bit of a convergence zone down the east of the country at the moment. We've got heavy thundery showers breaking out here. They're going to be quite slow moving, so could actually cause some issues. We've got some really quite heavy pulses of rain across Essex. Again, they're very local, where we've got these torrential downpours, almost village or town-sized downpours. But they are fairly widespread along this convergence zone, all the way from Yorkshire down towards Essex. Again, uncertainty how much this will move and how long it will last through the rest of today. But you can see it really is only along this band. We'll have to see what happens with this. Further westwards, not too much going on, and further south as well, not too much going on, but just across parts of Western Republic of Ireland now, you can see some persistent rain moving in, and this is the initial frontal band, or the initial edge of the frontal band that is associated with Storm Antony, which is just sat out to our west, strengthening at the moment. It will pass through parts of Southern Republic of Ireland through this evening and overnight, really bashing parts of Wales and southwest England with the peak wind gusts around lunchtime tomorrow, before eventually spreading eastwards with all its rain. So at the moment, nothing too crazy going on apart from that convergence zone really, but over the coming hours it's going to be getting a lot worse. If you look at the temperatures, not particularly warm day today. Many areas actually pretty cool. We see some blues appearing here again. Temperatures around that mid to low teens in those regions, maybe high teens or touching 20 degrees. We've got some darker oranges. But as I said, still well below average for the time of year. But luckily, next week we're looking much above average. Now, if you go over the weather warnings for Storm Antony, we've got this widespread yellow wind warning issued for much of Wales, all of southwest England, extending across parts of southern coastal areas as far eastwards as Brighton. Storm Antony will bring unseasonably windy weather to southern parts of the UK on Saturday from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. It's been updated this morning. The warning hasn't changed, but it's been updated as this is now Storm Antony, with impact matrix likelihood increased for medium impacts. Update start time and end times. So you see here an area of low pressure, Storm Antony, will bring unseasonably windy conditions to south and southwestern parts of England and Wales during Saturday. Strong winds are likely to affect Irish Sea coastal areas from early morning, pushing gradually southwards and eastwards and spreading inland. By the afternoon, English Channel coasts will also see some very windy conditions. Gusts of 30 to 40 miles per hour are expected widely, with 50 to 55 miles per hour along coastal stretches. Along the warning area, strongest winds will affect parts of southwest Wales and southwest England, where gusts could reach 50 to 55 miles per hour inland for a time, and perhaps 60 to 65 miles per hour along coastal areas and over higher ground. And the centre will slowly ease from the west through the evening. From looking at the latest runs, we actually see wind gusts higher than this, maybe as high as 70 miles per hour. Now, since yesterday, the impact matrix has been updated, has gone up one step in the likelihood direction, indicating that the wind gusts are more likely, and we'd expect that given the time frame is now shrinking. And from the looks of this, we could see an amber warning issued for this. From the looks of the latest runs, I would have issued an amber warning if I was issuing these warnings for the southwest Wales and especially the northern coast of the southwest of England. But at this stage, maybe that will be updated tomorrow. But you'll probably know my opinion on the weather warnings. It's always better to be safe than sorry, i.e. issuing warnings in advance instead of issuing them a couple hours before an event starts. So if amber warning was going to be issued for this, it should be issued some point today, this afternoon, or hopefully earlier than the afternoon, so many people can be informed about it and know that the impacts are coming, whereas there is a possibility we see an amber warning issued at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, with many people not changing their plans, having not seen the warning. So hopefully we don't see an update of that warning, and the Met Office do truly believe it's only yellow warning worthy, but who knows, we'll have to see what impacts we see tomorrow. If you look at the rain warning, it's from midnight until 11 a.m. for Northern Ireland, and again from Storm Antony. Again, could see 20 to 30 millimetres quite widely, and could be as high as 40 to 60 millimetres, and could see 20 to 30 millimetres falling in 3 or 4 hours, and over the Mourne Mountains, maybe 70 millimetres, and could be quite windy as well, 40 to 45 miles per hour. Again, high impact and higher likelihood today. Again, could be an amber warning issued, but I don't think that will come tomorrow from the looks of the latest run. Still looks quite uncertain exactly where the heaviest rain will be. But from the latest runs, I do think that we probably could see a yellow rain warning issued for much of southern England and South Wales from the looks of the latest runs. Not only are we going to be seeing big, heavy rain along the weather front, but we're also going to be seeing, that centre of the low. We've got some big, heavy, thundery showers wrapping around it. And we'll now be able to see that on the UKV. So if we do run through the UKV, as the UK Met Office has run, so a lot of their warnings do take the UKV into account, or at least based on a lot of the UKV runs, and a lot of the forecasts they put out as well. All the graphics are based on UKV runs as well. So it's the latest run available, and you can see though that convergence zone through eastern parts, it does last quite long into the afternoon and evening. It does reduce its intensity around the 2 or 3 p.m. point, turning more to bigger but lighter showers as the thundery showers do top out, but still could cause some issues through this afternoon. We can see by 5 p.m. big wall of rain moving from the west associated with Storm Antony, and all of Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland are going to be smashed by this rain by this evening. Now you can see why there is a yellow warning for rain through Northern Ireland, really heavy rain, and actually from the latest UKV, some of that heaviest rain is actually south of the border towards the Dublin area. Really could be some intense rainfall there. But through the early hours, heavy rain from northwards to southwards, all areas seeing this very heavy rain move in, and you can see why I do think there should be perhaps a yellow warning issued quite widely, especially for Wales as well. Look at that very heavy rain, and as that centre of the low wraps around, so we see the heavy frontal rainfall for a good maybe 3 to 6 hours quite widely, and then we see the wrap around towards the centre of that low. Look at all this very intense rainfall that's along the M4 line from London towards Cardiff, wrapping around the centre of the low there, and it's lasting all afternoon, really only reducing towards the evening time. Could see a lot of rainfall there in that region. You can see it really spiraling on its axis, giving pretty much consistent heavy rainfall in those areas. And that's why, as I said, a yellow warning for rain issued for these regions would only be sufficient if we had strong likelihood that these were the areas that was going to see that wraparound rain. At this stage, that is the most likely area, but maybe it isn't sufficient enough for a warning to be issued. But regardless, very strong winds and very heavy rain in places through especially the morning, and then for those southern and central areas through the afternoon could be seeing more heavy rainfall. Not quite as widespread, but where it does occur could be really quite intense and could be some flooding issues. Some of these showers look like they could actually turn into more sort of thunderstorm type weather there. Through the evening, it does pull away, and we still see some lingering rain for the early hours of Sunday for East Anglia, but really only lighter rain there, especially for the early hours. Into tomorrow, a better day, but still some heavy showers around in places. Into Monday, we see another weather system approaching from the southwest, but it's not particularly strong, and it just reduces intensity. And this is because high pressure is building in. High pressure is building in from the east, low pressure out to our west, and that battleground is going to cause quite strong southerly winds, and that's drawing up all that hot air for next week. As we head into Tuesday, we can see quite a cloudy, drizzly sort of pattern, and this is because a much warmer air mass is moving in, humid air mass as well, and that means a lot of cloud and drizzle, but it should clear up hopefully later in the week, and eventually you can see, as we head into Wednesday, still sort of this drizzly, humid, cloudy sort of pattern, and as you look at the upper air temperatures, look at that 14-degree isotherm in, and look at that just to our south, 17-degree isotherms just off the coast of southwest England. That would equate to temperatures with sunny, dry weather into the low 30s. So yes, very hot air arriving as we head into next week. Of course, we've got to concentrate on the impacts over the next few hours and the next couple of days. If you have a look at the wind gusts, you can see they're starting to pick up through the evenings, the early hours, maybe 40, 50 miles per hour. The wind's really only peaking around mid-morning to lunchtime tomorrow. Look at that, widely across southwest England and South Wales, across coastal areas, 60 plus mile per hour gusts. Inland, maybe as high as 65, and over the moors, down into the southwest, look at that, getting as high as maybe 75 miles per hour. Towards the centre, though, very light winds elsewhere, gusty, but nothing substantial, again 30, 40 miles per hour, and those wind gusts do transition eastwards. Along the south coast, could see 50, maybe 60 miles per hour, and inland on the back edge of the system through the latter part of the afternoon, could see maybe 40 to 50 miles per hour inland. So a very intense system, but we're really only expecting those really bad winds across South Wales and southwest England. Gusty elsewhere, warranted of some sort of warning, but not a named storm. This really, sort of named storm impacts really are only for South Wales and the southwest of England. Elsewhere, yes, very heavy rain, yes, gusty winds, but it's going to be really quite bad across those southwestern parts. So if you have got stuff outdoors, garden furniture outdoors, if you have got plans outdoors through tomorrow, especially through the morning into the early afternoon, do think about altering those plans, as these are incredibly unseasonable winds. Even if these winds occurred in the winter time, there probably would be still yellow warnings and maybe even a named storm status for this. These are not just unseasonably strong winds, these are generally very strong winds for the UK. So please do take care with this. Eventually the winds do die down through the evening hours, could still see 40, maybe 50 miles per hour for coastal regions into the early hours of Sunday, but as we head into Sunday afternoon, maybe 30 miles per hour, 40 miles per hour across East Anglia, but most other areas, it is a lot better. Now, if you look at the 2 metre temperatures, we're not going to see much of an improvement over the next 5 days, even with that humid air mass arriving next week, really only likely to start majorly impacting us by sort of Thursday time, which we can't have a look at the UKV yet. We see 21 degrees across the southeast today, maybe elsewhere pretty cool. It's a Saturday, abysmal really, not getting above 20 degrees pretty much anywhere, and widely under rain bands, a thick cloud, could see mid to low teens. Look at that across the parts of the Midlands where we see persistent cloudy, rainy weather. Not seeing the most intense rainfall, but seeing the most intense cloud and just generally dull weather. Really poor low teens. That is abysmal for early August. As we stretch into Sunday, temperatures recovering, maybe mid to high teens widely, touching 20 degrees. It's Monday, 22 degrees is possible, but again, nothing crazy. It's Tuesday, maybe again seeing 20 degrees. But under that sort of drizzly cloudy pattern, maybe only mid to high teens, but it will feel very humid out there. And that is the last day we can have a look at for the afternoon. And you can see the dew points, look at that, by next Tuesday, look at that, in the west, 16 degree dew points almost as high as the surface temperature, the 2 meter temperatures, so it's going to be feel very sticky, very humid out there. So yeah, it will only be maybe 17, 18 degrees, but it'll probably feel a lot more oppressive than that. If we now go over to the Rome run and just have a look at the latest on Storm Antony, again, Rome is a very highly regarded French model, high-resolution model, and you can see over the course of this afternoon all those heavy convective showers in the east, lasting through the rest of this afternoon into the evening, eventually petering away, but really quite intense in places along that convergence. So you can really see it is forming a line from Yorkshire down towards Essex and Kent. But as we head through Friday evening, we start to see Storm Antony arrive from the west. Very heavy rain for Northern Ireland and parts of the Republic of Ireland again, bringing the heaviest rain towards the Dublin area, Galway to Dublin area there, before eventually transitioning that into England and Wales. Very heavy rain through tomorrow, and you can see the wraparound section of the centre of the low towards Cardiff to London, that line there, we could see very intense rainfall rates lasting all the way into the evening, and even northern areas, the Rome run keeping pretty moderate to heavy persistent rain there. So yeah, it could be a miserable day. If we look at the wind gusts, we can see the max wind gusts on the bottom right here of the chart, again in kilometres per hour, but we'll be able to push that into miles per hour when we see the strongest gusts. So you can see across southwest England, gusts really peaking around the late morning into the early afternoon through South Wales and southwest England. You see those darker purples into white colours, peak wind gusts of around 110 to 120 kilometres per hour in this region. Again, that would indicate wind speeds in miles per hour of 70 mile per hour peak gusts. Rome is very high resolution, so it just shows you that the strongest winds will primarily be across southwest England, South Wales, but stronger winds further eastwards as well, and they will transition eastwards on the back edge of the low, even as the London area could see 40 or maybe 50 mile per hour wind gusts there. And towards the Isle of Wight, Southampton, Portsmouth sort of area could see some very strong wind gusts into the evening as well. So very intense for Storm Antony. So do now progress into the longer term and have a look at that hotter weather that could be arriving next week. Now you can see Storm Antony moving through on the GFS, but if we run into next week, see in between sort of unsettled and driest patterns as we head into the middle of next week, as we saw on the UKV, but as we head towards sort of Wednesday, Thursday time, look at that southerly wind starting to come in under higher pressure, and a very hot air mass moves in. Now the GFS unfortunately does drag in lower pressure, so yes, it could go hot for a day or two, but then we're likely to see a bit of a thundery spell potentially with the low pressure running into that hot air. But we do see a change in pattern in general. More amplification in the jet stream, allowing hotter air masses to waft up from the south. So yes, this hot air next week could only last a few days, but the overall longer term pattern is looking encouraging for more spells of warmer or hotter weather. So you can see the 15 degree house firm gets in from the GFS here for a number of days. 20 degree house firm gets into central France, not quite pushing towards the parts of southern England there on this latest GFS run. Into the long term does get swept away, but as we head towards 384 hours, we see more potential plumes of hot air, indicating that there is the risk that we do see more hot weather as we head through August, as the pattern is more amplified. So unfortunately, that does cut off the risk of seeing drier, persistent or warm or hot weather where it lasts a number of days or even more than a week. That looks quite unlikely, but this looks like much more of an up and down pattern, where we will oscillate between very hot, humid conditions and more wet and windy and thundery sort of patterns. If you look at the GM, see how that does compare. Again, we see Storm Antony moving through, high pressure building in, southerly winds into next week. High pressure initially in control towards the weekend, for low pressure runs in off the Atlantic, giving us quite unsettled and horrible conditions. If you have a look at that, look at the upper air temperatures. 15 to 20 degrees at 850 HPA here, intense air mass pushing in, and if we do look at the temperature deviation, you can see 10 to 12 degrees above average for the time of year, very hot air moving in, and again that would give temperatures around Thursday, Friday next week, around the 10th of August, that have been pinpointing for a number of days now. We could see temperatures widely into the high 20s or even 30 degrees here. Again, we put on the 2 meter temperatures, look at 28 degrees by midday. It will be very much dependent on precipitation and cloud because of that low pressure to our west could bring that in. But here we're looking at mid to high 20s or even touching 30 degrees by Thursday the 10th of August, and into Friday we could see similar conditions in eastern areas, but again could see the risk of low pressure coming in from the west, bringing thundery conditions into the longer term. If you look at the ECMWF, again, Storm Antony moving through, high pressure building in over the coming days with that southerly winds, but unfortunately once again, as we head beyond that into the next weekend, we could see low pressure coming back in off the Atlantic, giving a thundery breakdown. But before that, very hot air gets in. The 15-degree isotherm gets in for the 10th, 11th, and probably into the 12th as well, before getting swept away by Atlantic weather fronts. Now we can see this on the ensembles quite well. The latest GFS, which has just been updating, you can see a big spike in upper air temperatures next week. Many going to around that 15-degree isotherm point, but a bit more uncertainty on the GFS definitely. Really picking up from around the 10th of August and actually being dry for a couple of days there. So 10th, 11th, so Thursday, Friday next week could be dry and could be quite warm or even hot before precipitation does pick up once again. Upper air temperatures drop as we could see low pressure coming in off the Atlantic. So yes, could be turning much warmer, potentially hotter, potentially drier, but maybe only lasting 2 or 3 days, unfortunately. But it's better than nothing. The 2 meter temperatures are really going to pick up as well. Look at that widely, 25 degrees for many of the ensemble members, some getting even higher. Again, we'll have to wait for the high resolution runs to get on this, as these longer range runs are not always the most accurate when it comes to those 2 meter temperatures. Could give good indications. The rough temperatures will widely be around the 25 degree mark or higher, but difficult to say exactly what the top temperature will be. The dew points will be rising quite a lot as well. You can see that many ensemble members getting up towards the mid-teens. Dew points are much more warm, humid air mass compared to the sort of 8 to 10 degree dew points we have at the moment. And you can see sea level pressure is generally rising up from a big dropout as Storm Antony moves through in the next 12 hours. If we do look at the ECMWF run as well, much more strong support, much more clustering here from the ECMWF ensembles there. A lot surer on this pattern, but cool, very unsettled over the next few days. Drier for the 10th, 11th, not completely dry from all ensemble members, but mostly dry. Big spike in those upper air temperatures, widely 15 to 20 degrees, so definitely looking at 30 degrees could be eclipsed with this pattern for dropping back off towards average with higher precipitation. And finally, the 2 meter temperatures, very hot, spanning from the low 20s up towards 30 degrees there. So definitely much warmer as we head through the latter part of next week and potentially very hot. But it is still a week away, and we'll be concentrating that very much after Storm Antony does move through tomorrow, and we'll have the shorter range runs on it, especially the UKV, in the next couple of days, which will give us a much better indication on precipitation, cloud amounts, and of course the all-important temperature values as well, which I'm sure will be very high in places next week. So yes, make sure you stay safe over the next few days. At least there is some warmer, hotter weather to look forward to as we head into next week. But make sure you stay safe the next couple of days. It is going to be pretty wild out there as Storm Antony does move in, and it will batter southern and southwestern parts too. Do make sure you do stay safe. If you have got plans tomorrow, do heed the weather warnings and do alter them if you do deem necessary. So as I said, thanks for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. Make sure you stay safe tomorrow, and I'll see you again for another video soon.